right. Now, should be able to see it now. Okay. Everybody see it now?
Yeah.
The vocabulary. We have a form of a kuo, and of course, you just replace this with an omega right there, and that will be a kuo. I hear. This is a kusomai, and what he's telling you is it's deponent. Now, did we talk about deponents? I think we did already.
Yes, sir.
And I really don't think there's such a thing as deponent. I think it's a misnomer. And again, some of the latest ones have kind of turned that way in the last 15 years or so, with some things that they've decided. Again, you're going to find some people that disagree. And so be aware of that. I think this is middle voice, what I think it is. And I think that's what he's saying. He's treating it as active voice, but remember the active and the middle cover a lot of the same ground. So it's a bakuo, and he says deponent. Now the original book doesn't call it deponent. It just has it there penciled in. It wasn't actually in the book. Now, when I studied it, we penciled it in, okay? And so we actually wrote it in and added it to it. And we also added this word into it. It wasn't in the original book right here, right down here that we see here, elusomai. Let's go through it now. Kusomai, and I believe that's middle voice. I think it's really middle voice, but he's treating it as, in this context, as active voice deponent. Koe, and that's hearing. Notice this genitive ending in the article, so it's a noun, hearing. Now in Romans 10:17, so then faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. Which one of these words do you think that is? Is it a kuo or form, or is it a koe?
I think it's a koe.
It is a koe. Faith comes out of the report. Now, if you look at Romans 10:16, he says the report, and he calls it the report, report in the King James, I believe, in American Standard, both. And it's the same word translated hearing in twice in verse 17. It's very interesting. If you back up just a verse or two, you'll see he's talking about the gospel, and that's the report. It is the report that the prophet said, I believe it's Isaiah said, would be preached. And it's the good news, it's the gospel. And so our faith comes out of the evidence that's found in the gospel. And I would tie that with Hebrews 11:1 and 2. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
So our faith comes out of that. It emanates from it. And that's in the genitive case there in Romans 10:17. Ablative, I believe, koes. I think that's what the form is. It's koes. It's got the ace ending here. We'd have to go look at it, but I'm pretty sure that's correct. And so right here, that's a report. They had a hearing down at the courthouse, or they had a hearing at the federal building, or at the state capitol, or something like that, or at the town hall. And so that's a kind of a report that's been made. That's basically what it is. So the hearing we have that gives us faith is that report that was given when the gospel was preached. All right, so much for that. I've gotten off too much on that, okay? Any questions? All right, a leilon, and this is one another of one another. Have I already been through this? I feel like I have, but I've taught this so many times, I just sometimes kind of lose myself in it.
No.
This is from the Greek word allos, and I'll write it up here. And what we'll do is now we'll make this into symbol font. Now you'll see it all except for the diacritical markings. And of course, it has a diacritical marking. I don't see it. Okay. Well, it'll have a smooth breathing and an acute on the alpha. Okay. And so allos, break it here, allos. And our word alloy comes through like alloy of metals. And if you take some biology in college or in high school, you'll see that allo is a prefix. Drop the S off, leave the S off, and you'll have a prefix in English. A good English dictionary, like Merriam-Webster's Collegiate Dictionary, you can access it on the internet without buying it. Just type Merriam, M-E-R-I-A-M, Webster Dictionary. And I just put an icon on my computer screen, on the computer, and I click go right to it. But it will go through and show you this. There'll be a lot of English words that have A-L-L-O as a prefix. And so that's the same, or they are like one another. They are the same in nature. So they're different. So what we have here, the word different is different, and we have another word for different. Let me get back here. Let me see. I won't use this. Get rid of it. Okay. So this is one another. These are one another of the same nature. That's what it is. And so this becomes a good lesson, because you can take this word, and there's one another passages, and the love for one another, and just go on and on with various things we're to have for one another. All right. Arion, and that's tomorrow. It's an adverb. Now, the adverbs will be brought in much, much later. One of the last lessons is on adverbs. Luo. Now, there's two words for I serve, and I'll give you the other one here. And these are two words. So we'll come back, and there it is. Luo, and the accent's on the Omicron. Luo. And there's a subtle difference in one is to make someone into a slave, and the other is to serve. All right, this one that I have on top that I've highlighted just now, right here, that I just wrote, is to make someone into a slave. Okay. All right. This is to serve. And it takes a dative case object. That's what he's telling you there. You give service to someone. See? So that's how you basically translate. I give service to someone. The words serving and worshiping are generally take a dative object. I give worship to God, or I give service to someone. Here's another adverb. It's yet or still, eti, ero. Now in English we have go, went, gone, and that's irregular. In other words, the went doesn't fit in very well with the go and the gone. And so it's an irregular verb. Some of the verbs are in English. A lot of them are. In fact, we get a lot of irregular verbs. But this one here is a Greek verb, lego, and in the future form is ero. Now, how did that come about? Probably came about because there were different Greek city-states, and probably one of them snuck its vocabulary into the words somehow. That's probably how that happened. Okay, more than likely that's what they think happened. Then all of these different city-states had their own dialects. Okay, now we have heurisco, and that's I find. But heurisco is that you find something you're looking for. It's not an accident. Okay, and heureso, the coupling drops off. So it's kind of a little bit different form. And that's what he's kind of warning you. We'll have a list of the words later that take a different form. Have a table with those in the book. Now, I want you to remember this book is not just first year Greek. This is almost 2 years worth of Greek. It's a good 1.5 years of college level Greek, probably 15 semester hours, close to it. So be aware of that. So when we get through with this material, you'll have like probably 15 semester hours, the equivalent of it. Kata luo, and of course this is a compound word, kata and luo. Kata is down and luo is loose. So I'm going to loose it down. And if I loose like a building down, I throw it down, I cast it down. I release it and loose it. So I destroy it, kata luo. All right. The truo, and that's I serve, but it's a religious service. And it probably would be maybe better translated, at least in a lot of passages, as worship. But it's one of those that takes a dative object. So I give service to, or spiritual service to, or I worship. I give worship to. And so I give worship to, thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and him only shalt thou serve. And one of them is proskuneo, in that passage where Jesus responded to Satan. And the last one is on him only thou shalt thou serve. When you go back and look in the Old Testament, I believe it's derived from the word for worship. So the trio probably carries the idea of worshiping, at least in some passages, maybe in even a lot of passages.
So what is the difference between that and proskuneo then?
Proskuneo is more like bowing down to. It's to bow before, to prostrate yourself before. And again, there are different words for worship and carrying different senses of ideas. But we can have our singing, we can have psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs, different kinds of songs, for example. So there's a different thrust to it, a different idea in it. But they both go along with the idea of worshiping. Bowing down before proskuneo is probably more like, and that's the word that would be used if you bowed before a king or someone like that. You have to bow before someone. The truo would generally carry the idea of something done in a temple. Does that make sense? In a religious service.
Yeah, thank you.
So limos, that's a famine. And it's a noun, of course, a masculine noun. Now then, erchomai is irregular. Erchomai is irregular. What erchomai is, and they'll tell you it's deponent, but I come, well, that could easily be middle voice. I'm doing it to myself or causing myself to come. I think it makes perfectly good sense to make it middle voice. And this elusomai is a different form. It's like going gone. It's got a different form in the future right here. So it takes a different form. That's what he's trying to tell you there. And he's really trying to say it's my verb. He's trying to tell you it's the opponent, but I don't think so. I think you are coming or going for yourself or causing yourself to do it. I think it's probably middle voice. Meleso, I shall be about. And this is from the verb, and I'll give it right over here. It will take a moment for me to do all this, but I think this will help us, and we won't get into the next lesson at all. It's from that word, and of course, what happens is they get an eta in here, and then it becomes a sigma. So they have this linking vowel, the eta, and the eta sigma. So they add a linking vowel right in here, and then put a sigma. That's what they do. All right. Moikuo, I commit adultery. And again, we have another word for it. Okay, I believe this will get it. And again, you can look these words up in the file that I gave you in the lexicon. I think you can find them. But I think I have both of these in this file over here. Okay. And again, one of them is to actually, this is the one that's causing the act. This is the one that's being done to. Okay. So that's more of a little subtle difference. Luo is the one that actually does the serving. Loo, that's like a moiko. I'll go back to it. The O ending. And we would an O ending here. This is the one that is caused to serve, okay? Is caused to serve. Okay. Naistuo is I fast.
Brother,
Yes.
you said moiko'o is the one causing the adultery?
No, this moiko is causing it. This is the one that the moiko is the victim of it.
Okay.
This is the victim. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
I believe that's correct. Okay. All right. Next 2O is I fast. And fasting could just entail I'm not eating food or not drinking or eating either. Of course, one of the problems we get into is some people, because of diabetes and other things, have trouble with that. Okay. Let's see here. Oi, and this is, and let's break it up into two words. And it's from oikos, and then drop the U and make a sigma there on the end. And mene or minnow is to dwell or abide. So this is a house that you live in or abide in. So what this is the inhabited earth, civilized world. Okay. I don't think it's Antarctica. Antarctica would be in this realm, at least. There may be some people temporarily living there, but there's some places no people live. We have hote is when it's a conjunction. Planao is I deceive. And of course, there's a noun form of that. Polemos, and this is war. Our word polemic comes from this. Saluo is I shake, and seismos, and the seismograph, see, and the seismograph. Oops, I broke it and it just wound up getting away from me. Seismos is earthquake, and graphe is a graph or something that makes a drawing of earthquakes, seismograph. Fami is to say something. We got 3 words now for saying. I'll put both these words. I won't have any accent marks on them. And we'll just put them both up here. There's subtle difference. Let me make this one. Those 2 words there, Lego and laleo, and femi. And so these are different words for speaking or saying. Okay. So you get into them and you need to study them. And I would recommend Trench's Synonyms of the New Testament. It's a very valuable book. I would recommend you get 4 books, and they'll be really helpful to you. Number 1, of course, you need a Greek New Testament. And besides having that, I would recommend you have probably Thayer's and then an analytical concordance. And I've got 2 different ones. I've got Moulton, Harold K. Moulton's, and I also have one by another author. And let me get his name right quick. months, M-O-U-N-C, months or mounts. And he has an analytical lexicon. There are others out there too. And this will help you when you get stumped on a word, just to whether it's, you can conjugate it or decline it, okay? It will help you with that. And then of course, Thayer. And I would suggest you get Trench's synonyms of the New Testament. I think that's a good starter. It really gives you a lot of help with a lot of things, okay? So those are the 3 or 4 that I would suggest you obtain. Okay. Any questions? I think they would be very useful for you. Another one that would be real good is vocabulary in the New Testament, of Greek New Testament, of the Greek Testament, both Moulton and Milligan. That goes through and studies how words are used outside the New Testament. That kind of helps you sometimes. Kolos, lame, right? And we already did elusomai. That's future. Okay, any questions? Okay, and when it says enclitic over here, present form is enclitic, that means it loses its accent mark. Okay, so the accent is not on it, and you pronounce it with the word just preceding it like it's hyphenated. That's what you're supposed to do, but I don't get into a lot of stuff with that. All right, let's do text A, and then we'll call it night. Let's start with Benjamin. Benjamin, can you do this first one for us? And we'll let Bobby do the next one.
Sure thing. Ha Jesus ekatheto epiton elion. Jesus was sitting upon Mount Olives or Mount Olivet.
Upon the Olivet, see. Upon that, we'd add the word mount in there. Okay.
Yeah, I had to look that one up because it was saying it was oil or something.
It's where olive oil comes from.
Yeah.
Did you know that olive oil is kills bacteria? Or olive leaves oil, olive leaf extract kills bacteria. Right? You didn't know that? It's as good as any antibiotic. Okay. And when Jesus gave the parable of the Good Samaritan, he poured in wine and oil was olive oil. And it probably had olive leaves in it whenever they pressed the oil out. And it kills bacteria. Okay. So I'll let you know that. Okay. Might be something to it. All right. Okay. So much for that.
Oh.
Any questions? So what is this right here? It's got an augment on
it. Imperfect.
It's imperfect. So Jesus was sitting upon the Mount upon the Olives, upon the Olivet. Jesus was sitting. Okay. Now then, Bobby.
Okay, you used upon, I have at, so let me change that right quick.
It could be, it's basically upon, but it could be at.
Yeah.
And,
okay. Hoi de ma the eta legusi auto pote estai tautai. I have, but the disciples were saying to him, when shall those things be?
okay. And so these things, you have to add the word be to it.
Yeah.
Shall be The B comes from estai is where it comes from.
Right.
What shall these things be? And of course, the disciples say to him, okay. So they say to him, when shall these things be?
Say to him. How would I put saying?
All right. Okay. Let's go with the next one here, if you would.
Okay. Ha de apokrinetai autos. And he answered them.
Okay. So he gave answer to them, see. So he gave answer to them. Answered them is good, but literally it's he gave answer to them. Right. All right. Well, Bobby, we're going to get you again for long.
All right. Hoi lo legusen ego eme ho Christos kai plenes usi. I have many are saying, I myself am the Christ, and wars.
And they what?
And wars is what I got there. There's a battle.
Oh, you got the wrong word.
I got the wrong word. I thought something was wrong with that. I said, what did I do wrong?
Steve.
I think that's one got highlighted up above there. Well, no.
I myself am the Christ, and you got I deceive, lead astray.
They shall.
Oh, okay.
They shall deceive. Future tense. Okay.
Okay, wait just a minute. Let's see. For some reason or other, I made that a noun. That's not a noun at all.
No, it's
I know. I see it. For some other reason. Okay, I'll go back and check that one. May mark it.
many shall say. Many say, I am. And that's emphatic. Even I am the Christ. I'm the Christ. I'm the Messiah. And shall deceive. That's kind of left something out. Probably shall deceive many is in the text of the Bible. But he shortens it up to deal with words that we've got in our vocabulary is what he does.
Yeah.
At the end of the book, he actually will just be taking text right out of the Bible. We translate verses of scripture, one right after another, okay? So we'll be doing, okay?
Well, I am the Christ and shall deceive.
And shall deceive. And just, that's where it stops. That's where it begins.
I don't.
Shall deceive, we want it. It is a finite verb, so it needs an object. Shall deceive, you're left hanging in the air, aren't you? All right, so again, it left us hanging, but we'll just go over with it. Okay. All right, any questions? All right, what does the word Christ mean?
Anointed.
What's the Hebrew word for it? Remember? Messiah. That's the same word. One's Hebrew, one's Greek. All right. Okay. Let's try the next one if we might here. You, Benjamin?
Melesete akuen polemus kai akoas polemo. You all will be about to hear wars and rumors of wars.
Okay. And the akoi is sounds or reports of wars. See, that's where the word rumors come in. That's good rendering. But the reports, see, the hearing, we had a hearing at the courthouse, a report. We hear that. Hearing are things we hear of wars, rumors and wars. Okay, Bobby, you got a short one now. We got.
Okay. They gar tauta genesta. And I translate it because it is necessary for this to take place.
Or it is necessary for this to come to be or to take place. These things to happen might be. Day is an impersonal verb. impersonal, impersonal. I spelled it not because you couldn't spell, but because I speak Okie-talk. Okay, so I want to make sure you understood what I said. It's a verb basically that doesn't have to worry about person. It kind of functions like almost like an infinitive. Okay, so it's saying something is bound, like your hands are tied. All right, and that's almost.
Right.
And I'm sorry.
No, I wouldn't say anything. I said, okay.
Okay, next one here. Now we'll be back to Benjamin, please.
Esontai limoi kai sesmoi kata topus. There will be famines and earthquakes every place.
And kata topos, and a word topology comes from this. Topology, topographic maps, so forth. When you were in the Army, Bobby, did y'all have maps that showed hills and stuff on them?
Yes, sir.
And that's topographic maps, see, it shows it. Okay. When I was in the Navy, we didn't have them like that for the Navy. The water was all the same level. Okay, I'm trying to joke, okay. Big famines and there shall come to be, it shall be famines and earthquakes. Kata topus is kata is called the distributive use of it from place to place. Okay, and according to this or to this and that place, you might say it's used several times in that sense in the Bible. The kata is in a distributive sense. I always think of it like this: the postman distributes the mail to all the boxes, and that's how I remember the distributors. In here and gets in all the mailboxes. Makes sense? Kind of helps you to remember it. That's my memory hook for remembering it. All right.
Yeah, and I said every place. Would everywhere be different, or is that kind of the same idea?
Every place, everywhere, I don't think there'd be a lot of difference. Topos is a limited place, but it's in a confined region. It's not in the whole earth, for example. But every limited place, if it's in every limited place, then it would, from place to place, kind of might be more of the what it's saying. So these things will happen from place to place. Okay, kata topus. Okay. It's kata with the accusative case, of course. You have to go back and look at how it's used. All right. And I think that it's any other questions or comments? Bobby, can you take this next sentence?
Yes. Poilo me say Susan Leilus, meaning shall hate one another.
So it's about a movable nu here, so that nu is just movable. So leave it off. It's an Susie ending, say Susie. And Susie is third person plural. Susie is third person plural future. Okay. Poly, poly, our English prefix poly, P-O-L-Y comes from this. And And so it comes from this word P-O-L-L, P-O-L-Y. And many shall hate one another. Now, this is not hating someone of a different group. This is hating someone of their own group. And in the context, this may be Jesus's announcement of Matthew 24 or something like that.
Yeah.
Right, what we're seeing here, if it's alelos, it's others of the same nature as you. So this, in that context, would be Jew hating Jew. There would be one Jew hating another Jew. And it wasn't in the destruction of Jerusalem. It wasn't just Jewish non-Christians hating Jewish Christians. Because leading up to the destruction of Jerusalem, if you look at the context, I believe the faithful had already fled Jerusalem before it got sealed in. And so they weren't even there. So when you read Josephus' account of it, they were divided into three groups and fought one another internally inside and destroyed each other's food supplies. That's according to Josephus. Of course, Josephus is hard to read. My copy is pretty small print, and boy, he wrote a lot.
He did.
Mine is small print. And my old eyes just aren't what they used to be. COVID hit me hard with my eyes. And I had to strengthen my glasses from COVID after I got COVID. But yeah, that's those of the same nature. That's a lesson in itself too. They're not just hating other people of other races or other groups, hating people of their own race or their own groups. A lengthy reading, Bobby. I think it's you. Bobby, did you do the last one?
Well, I did the small one. Benjamin time.
You're going to stick the shaft in and break it off.
De que rusestai tuta to euangelion tes basileas en hole te oikumene es marturion.
Good.
I said, it is necessary they shall preach for themselves the good news of the kingdom in the whole inhabited earth for a testimony.
The good news or the gospel is how it's translated sometimes. Good news, and that's what that means, of the kingdom in the whole earth. And this would be the inhabited earth. So this, what we see here is, I think even before the destruction of Jerusalem, and this is probably from Matthew 24, I think they actually preached in the whole earth before that time. I think the apostles accomplished it. That's my contention that they did. I think there's evidence they did. And they went out and preached the inhabited oikumene in the whole inhabited earth. I don't believe they had to go to islands that didn't have people on them. They didn't have to go into the Sahara Desert if there wasn't anybody out there in it. And probably didn't go way up into the northern reaches of Siberia. There probably wasn't any people up there about that time. Okay. So that's my contention. People had moved up there in the lower portions of Siberia and places like that. So places where nobody was living, they didn't go preach. So they preached to the people for a witness, for a testimony. And of course, the testimony, the evidence that Jesus was resurrected, that's the testimony they gave. I'm convinced that the apostles, some of the language, for instance, the so-called comforter in John 14, 15, and 16, chapters 14, 15, and 16, that it's really, I think it's talking about a lawyer, an advocate for the defense, and that the Lord is using like it's a trial, and you apostles are giving your testimony. And the Holy Spirit is going to come and make sure you have infallible memory as to what you saw. And he's going to confirm it. And he's going to give you infallible memory so you get everything exactly right. And I think that's what the Comforter did for them. And he doesn't do it for us. He's given us the written information. We need to dig it out. They got it by inspiration. We get it by perspiration. Okay. So you're told, man, I believe that's pretty well right. Just have to dig and study and work at it. And I keep saying, oh, Marion, you had that wrong. You need to change. Go back and when I study and I have to make a change in what I've believed. But I only let the Bible change my thinking. I won't let anything else change my thinking. Someone shows me by the Bible, then I'll change. All right. Did that help a bit?
Yes, sir.
It is necessary. It is binding. Our hands are tied, see, to preach. Caruso is to proclaim a message like you're proclaiming the message of a king or a ruler. So King Jesus sent them out as his apostles to serve as witnesses to bring the good news of salvation of the kingdom in all of the inhabited earth for a testimony, for a witness. Okay. Any question?
Yeah, I got a question about the Comforter, but I'll wait till we're done recording.
Okay. Let me go over to this. I will go out of it. And what we'll do is we'll go out. Back. Ooh. I don't have it up here. Sorry. Okay. I thought I had that file up here. I don't have it. Let me see if I can get it up. All right. I'll get it up. All right. There we go. Let's see if we can see it now. All right. Can you see it now?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Here is the word for comforter, highlighted right there, right in the center of the screen. So let's look at it just a minute. It's from parakaleo, the verb, which we come up here. There's parakaleo, to call to one side or summon. And notice what I've done is related to this verb is two other words, okay? So we're looking at this right here, parakletos. That's our word. And it's summon, called to one side, especially to one's aid. One who pleads another's cause before a judge. Right there's your first definition. A pleader, a counsel for defense, a legal assistant or advocate. That's definition number one. One who pleads another's cause, second definition, with one, an intercessor. In the widest sense, a helper, or succor, or an aider, assistant. Well, yes, he aided the apostles, but I think when you look at the full context of it, I think you'll draw the conclusion it's like a trial going on. They would give their testimony, which is a legal term. They'll give their witness or testimony regarding the resurrection of Christ. If Jesus is resurrected, he's the Son of God, and we must obey him. I believe Romans 1:4 bears that out. All right, now go ahead with your questions. We're almost through with the class. You want to take it offline or what?
Either way. Yeah, I was just going to say, like you were saying, the Comforter was to come and allow them to have a remembrance of the things that they had seen Christ do, so that they could testify of it. And that is not something that's around today.
Right.
Yet I always hear in the prayers that people do, they use this term. They say, "Give so and so a ready recollection."
I've heard that since I was a boy.
I've heard it too, but that's like the exact same thing, right? They're asking for the same thing the Comforter was supposed to imply, right?
Yeah, I think they're misunderstanding it. This is the idea that I think if you look in the context of John 14, 15, and 16, that is to the apostles. And if you see what all the Comforter did, he gave them infallible memories, brought to remembrance all that Jesus had said, and so forth. John 16, 12 through 14, and so forth. And we don't have that. And, our brethren just not taking verses in context. They're taking them out of context. I think we have a problem in the church with taking passages that are written for the apostles and only for them and trying to make them apply for everybody. Now, I know some things they were told to do, I'm told to do, but I'm sure not going to be given an infallible memory. Old Marion just messes up. I know in class last night, I called a couple of times, not last night, Tuesday night. I called a couple of times. No, it was Monday night. See, I don't even have the date right. I said Acts 17, and it was Acts 7, I think. And there's a couple of times I cited wrong. And it was right there on the screen in front of me. And I was reading it. I read it wrong. I don't think Peter would do that, or Paul, or Andrew. I don't think they were going to do that kind of stuff. They had total recall. Actual total recall of what had been said, and they had everything exactly right. We just don't have that. So,
I just brought that up because I know I've heard it all my life, and once I came to an understanding on these passages, John 14 through 16, I just can't even say amen at the end of the prayer anymore when somebody prays that.
I think our brethren need to be studying a little harder. But some preachers need to kind of lay this out. But you need to be kind and gentle with people. But, they still need to be shown they're in error, too. Because I think there are implications to it. Do I have an infallible memory? I have recall of everything Jesus said? Well, I don't. So that's not for me. And I can hear it. And why didn't put it in there? Because he wanted me to know those apostles. You can trust everything they said. That's important that we trust them. Okay. Anyhow, I'm so much for that. Any more questions or comments? I get excited about this. So.
Yeah, me too. I appreciate it, though.
That's the way I get when I read the book on the Holy Spirit. I just don't want to put it down. Keep on reading.
Well, I bring it up because now it's something if you hadn't thought about or whatever. Now you bring it before people's minds so we can be thinking about that.
Yeah. Well, there are implications. If you take some of those verses, you have an infallible memory and other stuff. Like, of course, Pentecostals, they think they have an infallible memory. All right.
The other thing I hear is give them the words.
Yeah.
As if God's going to instill words in you, as if you're going to be prophetic.
Yep. And so, yeah, brethren have heard that prayer over and over, and people just parrot a prayer they've heard. I think that happens. It's almost the same words I've heard since I was a boy. And on my next birthday, I'll be 80 years old. So I've been hearing that a long time. This is the Lord's church. I was carried there when I was a baby. Okay, so, all right. We went 3 times a week every service we went. So anyhow, Okay, fellas, call a halt to it. I want to stop recording.